we're going to watch this video to start with. This is from ABC News. So apparently Trump is going to address the nation tonight. It's going to be at like 10 o'clock or something, or 9 o'clock Eastern, I think, if I remember correctly. I'm going to be raiding during that time, so obviously I won't be able to cover that live. But yeah, I figured we'll go ahead and see if they got any predictions for what he's going to say. I'm going to be completely honest. Trump has really been throwing me for a loop with this. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Usually I think I'm pretty good at reading what Trump is like saying and what he actually means. When it comes to this Iran shit that's happening right now, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit lost. I thought he was going to invade last weekend. All of the military movements are pointing to a ground invasion of some sort. But yet I usually trust the ground movements more than, or like the troop movements more than I trust, this guy's words, which usually ends up being correct. But you never know though, because he did just abandon his fight with the Houthis all of a sudden or whatever, right? Like where he just like said, okay, we're done, and then left. So there's a possibility that he'll do that even with all the troops there, but I still think it's kind of unlikely. But anyway, I feel like whatever this address is, it might have some big news later tonight, but let's see what ABC News has to say about it.
And just moments ago, he said that he's strongly considering pulling out of NATO. That is a massive statement. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl here with the latest. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. 5 weeks into...
That ain't right, people. That ain't right. I listened to stuff way too fast. That was probably gobbledygook to most people.
President Trump, he's set to address the nation tonight on the war with Iran. And just moments ago, he said that he's strongly considering pulling out of NATO. That is a massive statement. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl here with the latest. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George.
If he pulls out of NATO, like I will literally have a party. I will come back online. I will pop some champagne and I will have a party. If he just says NATO is over, we're done, like that's what I'm gonna do. I would love that so much.
5 weeks into a war that most Americans say they do not support, Donald Trump says U.S. troops are now, quote, finishing the job. Just days ago, President Trump threatened a major escalation of U.S. attacks on Iran. But now he is signaling that U.S. troops may head home within a couple of weeks.
We're finishing the job, and I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job.
It's not the first time the president has set a 2-week deadline, many of which have come and gone without consequence. But this talk of an exit comes as Americans are feeling the pain of war.
That's the classic. Well, usually it's more along the lines of, if you do X, we will do Y, or you have 5 days to do X, or else we will do, like, you have 5 days to open up the Strait of Hormuz, or we will bomb you into oblivion. That's what the deadlines usually are. And then they usually pass and it's really like nothing happens. So yeah, that's his classic move. He loves that move. I don't know if he understands though that move ends up having like a negative effect in the long term of people just never believing anything you say. So
Iran continues to block virtually all ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, causing oil prices to skyrocket globally. The average price of gas in the United States now tops $4 a gallon. In Florida, it's $4.22, up nearly $1.30 since the war began. It's worse out west, $4.93 a gallon in Nevada, and nearly $6 a gallon in California. Trump offered a simple solution to bringing those prices down.
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and they'll become tumbling down.
Meanwhile, Trump is...
not so fast, buddy. No, this is going to have lasting... If we left Iran today, we just tucked tail and ran like we did with the Houthis, there would still be lasting impacts of this. Number one, Iran might not be done yet, right? Iran might still be bombing all of the Gulf countries. Iran might still be bombing Israel, into like for the indefinite future. So that's number one. That's going to keep prices high regardless because there's still that instability. Number two, Iran will still have complete and total control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they can decide to limit or let through as many ships full of oil as they so choose, which like most oil oligarchs are going to see that situation and they're going to think, well, then there's this instability. We're going to keep the prices high, right? And so, like, I think, and then also, obviously, the damage that has been done to some of the actual refineries and stuff in places like Qatar and everything are going to take years to recover anyway. So, like, that, like, 8% of the oil coming through the strait or whatever it was, like it was 20% of essentially 20%, if I remember correctly. Like Qatar is 20% of the oil, and it was like it impacted 25% of their production. There might be even more of an impact total, like since that happened. But a lot of that stuff, like recovering from that, it's going to take months, if not years, to do anyway. So I have a feeling prices are going to remain high for a while, guys. When they said short-term pain for long-term gain, I think they misspoke. I think they meant long-term pain for short-term nothing. Like we're for strategic failure, basically, is kind of. I think that's probably what they actually meant. Is how I'm interpreting it now.
Urging America's allies to build up some delayed courage, go to the strait, and just take it. The president saying that America's allies should be there to help, even though he started the war without consulting them.
In a phone call, the president told me our allies can, quote, police it themselves. Why should I do it for them? They weren't there for me.
In that same call, President Trump told me he is already negotiating with what he says is the new leadership in Iran. We have regime change, he told me, and this group is much more moderate and much more reasonable. The president told me his team has been talking.
See, that's another weird thing that's hard for me to interpret. They're trying to just claim regime change, which usually would be something they would do preceding like just a declaration of victory and like leaving or whatever, right? So yeah, I don't know. Trump, he's really, he's doing better than he usually does. He's keeping me guessing. Usually I think I have a pretty good sense of what he's going to do. I'm completely lost on this one. He's really got
with the
me
Speaker
guessing.
of the Iranian parliament, who just a few days ago was taunting Trump on social media, posting, "Sad, but this is what happens when your leaders put others ahead of hardworking and ordinary Americans." But Trump telling me he's toned it down a lot. He's much better. The president then added what sounded like a threat to the man he says he is talking to. "We know where he lives. Let's put it that way."
And President Trump will address the nation tonight in what the White House said.
Yeah, Iran is essentially just dunking on us at this point. Like they're being so like catty. It's kind of funny. Like they are just like we do not give a shit what America says. We're gonna keep doing our thing. Fuck you guys. We're not talking to you. And America just like keeps. I don't know. I feel like keeps like trying to pretend like everything's cool. Like it's like when you have someone who is like back in high school, right? Who's like the really popular kid, and they let like some new kid into their or like the popular kids or whatever. And they let some new kid into the group who's not usually a part of the group. Maybe he's like the funny guy or whatever, right? And then the funny guy, Trump would be the funny guy in this situation, like keeps trying to like appease the cool kids or whatever, and then the cool kids just keep being like, yeah, and this fucking loser, and like talking trash on him or whatever, and he just has to sit there and take it because there's nothing he can really do about it. That's kind of how it feels like it's going right now with Trump and Iran, at least to me.
Put it that way.
And President Trump will address the nation tonight in what the White House says is an important update on Iran. This comes as a new Ipsos poll out this week shows 60% of Americans disapprove of U.S. military strikes on Iran, and that nearly two-thirds of Americans want to see the U.S. to work to end the conflict quickly.
And John, as we've been saying just moments ago, the president gave this interview to a British newspaper, already drawing reaction across Europe.
Yeah, this is something else. Asked directly, would you consider withdrawing from NATO? And look at his answer. He says, "Oh, yes, I would say it's beyond reconsideration. I was never swayed by NATO. I always knew they were a paper tiger," and Putin knows that too, by the way.
The president gave you a lot of time yesterday.
Yeah, look, I have to say one thing that struck me.
That's a weird thing to say. Sorry, I was only half paying attention, so I'm going to go back and listen to it again. But
By the way,
The president gave you a lot of time yesterday.
yeah, swayed by NATO. I always on to reconsideration. I was never swayed by NATO. I always knew they were a paper tiger, and Putin knows that too, by the way.
The president gave you a lot of time yesterday.
Yeah, look,
I didn't catch who said that, but that's a very weird thing to say because NATO is America. Like, all of NATO's power comes from America. None of the other states have any power whatsoever when it comes to NATO. They are all, minuscule, like nothing compared to America. So, saying that NATO is a paper tiger is literally just an admission that America is a paper tiger. So I didn't catch who said that, but that's a funny quote.
I have to say, one thing that struck me, I spoke to him for about 20 minutes yet in the middle of the day, in the middle of the workday. He seems like somebody who doesn't have a concern in the world. He seems extremely confident that the war is going to be just fine, that Americans will turn around and support it, that prices will come back down. He spent a lot of the time, George, talking not just about Iran, but about the ballroom that he is building, which was stopped yesterday, about the fact that his signature is going to be on the dollar bill, that they're renaming the airport in Palm Beach, even talking about plans for the library that his son Eric is working on in Florida. He really seemed like a man that was not troubled at all by what was going on.
All in the middle of the war.
All in the middle of the war, yeah.
John Carl, thanks for.
Yeah. Some might call him oblivious or not taking it seriously, but those people would be America hating leftists, right?